The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys! This is Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw Dating, preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and broadcasting live from Dallas Cowboys World Headquarters at the Star. Now, your hosts, Christy Scales, Aisha Morrison, Nicole Hutchison, and Jess Navarez.
Hey, what's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome into Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys in the SWBC studio. We got a new look of Girls Talk, Boys Talk today. We got, of course, Christy Scales, who's always on the show. We've got Savannah Humaller joining us today. How are you, girl? Good?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. I'm happy to be here with both of you.
Yeah, thanks for jumping in.
Yeah.
Jess is probably in line for It's a Small World
She
right
is.
now, or maybe Space
Probably.
Mountain.
Yeah.
Maybe
I
Buzz
did
Lightyear.
see she was out of town.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Aisha's.
She's got an appointment, so
yeah.
Aisha will be back next week. So we
Yes.
appreciate you. Thank
Great.
you so much.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, you got a good smile on your face, and I'm sure it's because of free agency.
Oh,
It has to be.
we got some great news yesterday in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Kendricks agreed to terms with the Dallas Cowboys. So it's a great day here at the Star.
Yeah, a linebacker position that the Cowboys obviously desperately needed. And they signed a veteran guy, a guy who's been in the league for, 10 seasons?
Nine, yeah, this will be his 10th.
10
Yeah.
seasons. Spent time with Minnesota, 9 seasons in Minnesota, a year with the Chargers, their second leading tackler for the Chargers. What do you feel like that move does for this Cowboys team, Christy?
I was surprised earlier in the week when Kendricks had reportedly agreed to join the 49ers because it just made too much sense for Kendricks to come here and be reunited with Mike Zimmer, because Mike Zimmer was the head coach of the Vikings when Kendricks was drafted there and had some of his greatest success. And what happened was Kendricks had, as Nicole mentioned, up until last year had played all of his career in Minnesota, and he joined the Chargers, but the Chargers changing with the GMs and some maneuvering with the salary cap. Basically what happened was Kendricks became a cap casualty with the Chargers and was on the open market. And so when it was first reported, 49ers, I'm like, no way, he's going to join Zim.
Yeah.
But it's obviously, as you both alluded to, one of the 2 or 3 positions of biggest need for the Cowboys, and just fit him right in the middle. We're still officially waiting for word from Leighton Vander Esch as to what he's decided in terms of continuing his NFL career. But Kendricks would be the guy that would step in if Vander Esch didn't come back and take on the leadership role. He already knows the defense. He'd probably be the green dot, doing all the communication. But I think it's a great signing.
Yeah, and you get a guy that's obviously played under Zimmer. He played with Zimmer under Zimmer for 7 seasons in Minnesota. So you're a guy who knows the system that obviously he wants to run. I know they ran more of a nickel defense though at that time.
Yeah, but it's very similar.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time you're in a nickel anyway, which is 2 linebackers. But the other thing is, it means that you can take Micah Parsons. Micah's playing outside anyway, not necessarily inside, but by having a veteran presence and more depth at linebacker, then you can make the decision to how much you want to utilize Micah Parsons' versatility. But I have a question for you guys, and I know that until the Kendricks announcement, other than re-signing long snapper Trent Sieg, that's been it for the Cowboys until today, as of this morning, Thursday, March 14th.
Yeah.
Does the Kendricks signing kind of save the first couple of days of free agency for you guys, or are you still feeling a lot of angst?
I kind of feel indifferent about it, only because I like the signing. You're obviously addressing a position in need, and you came in strong with that position, but it does not negate the fact that you have not tried to address any other positions. But again, we don't have the money right now. I feel like they have to address, of course, Dak's contract, CD's contract, Micah's contract, a lot of other guys in order to kind of ease up that, I guess, open up that cap space first, and then we can kind of trickle down. And I know Cowboys fans don't want to hear that right now, but that's the reality of it. You have to start there first before you try to bring in more players. But I feel like the way that they handled it so far, kind of addressing a position of need and coming in strong with that position is a good start. It doesn't ease the mind, though. Doesn't ease the mind.
Yeah.
Savannah?
No, I agree. I think that the Cowboys are essentially playing the long game right now.
Good point.
You are dealt certain cards and they are playing it to their hand. And yes, everyone had been patiently waiting for the Cowboys to make a move. Obviously, the re-signing of Trent Siege, that was very ideal for all of us. That was a position that was necessary. However, addressing the linebacker position, which has been a huge topic of conversation since our very last game this season, I think that was very necessary and it fit the timing. It may not be on everybody else's timing, but it's on the Cowboys' timing. They are playing their cards slowly and they address the position in need. And I think signing Kendricks was the right time and it fills the void for what everybody's been asking for the linebacker position.
Yeah.
And it's a 1-year deal.
Yeah.
So waiting for the terms on that. And Nicole mentioned not a lot right now. To spend cap-wise 2.2, there's a lot of maneuvering that can happen very quickly to open up cap space, but it's a no-risk deal. And the only thing about Kendricks is I always have concern when a position like linebacker, which is a lot of hits and a lot of tread on taking off a tire when you play that position over the first 9 years of the NFL. So, but the fact that it's 1 year and it's not a long-term commitment to a guy who has a lot of mileage on those tires.
Yeah, I actually got a chance to. Well, I reached out to a couple of friends who played with Zimmer. Played with Eric Kendricks, Holton Hill, who played in Minnesota, and Tremaine Brock, and they both had great things to say about him. And they basically just said that you're getting a leader, of course, the leader that you need on this defense. Because I feel like that's something that, and I don't want to say that it hasn't been there in the locker room because we just maybe haven't seen it, but I don't think we've had like that true leader on the defensive side of the ball. And maybe I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that's just my
DeMarcus
opinion.
Lawrence,
DeMarcus Lawrence,
but
that
the
vocal
position,
leader, especially in that position.
Yeah,
group you have.
Leighton's more of the lead by example.
Yeah.
And he's not super vocal around the media.
Yeah.
He might be more vocal,
Exactly.
within the linebacker room.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I just feel like that it's a good addition. And they said that you'd be getting a good guy who doesn't change. He's always going to stay the same type of player, and he kind of he leads by example, but he's also that leader vocally. So that's the type of player that you're getting.
And I think I might have mentioned last week on the podcast, I'm pretty sure I did, but in regards to Mike Zimmer and his relationship with the Vikings players, when Mike's son had passed away about a year and a half ago, and it was during the football season, and the service was held here locally in North Texas on a Tuesday, which is players and coaches' days. Well, coaches don't have a day off, but anyway, so many Vikings players came down, and all of the linebacking core because Mike's son Adam coached the linebackers, and so Eric was there, and so I just a mental note of wow, what a good group of guys, to take time during a busy season to come and do that. So, I too have heard great things about him personally and as a leader. But can I one more question though in regards to how you felt about something this week? We know Tony Pollard has signed with the Titans.
Dang it, we were gonna get there, Christy.
No, but I'm
antsy. I know.
When Aaron Jones was let go, when the Packers decided to go a different direction at running back, and just for those moments where Aaron Jones was available, were you guys thinking the same thing I was thinking, and bring him back to the Lone Star State where he started at UT El Paso?
Yeah, I literally tweeted. It said something along the lines of Cowboys, y'all know what to do. Come on, let's make it happen. But when I saw him get picked up, I was like, my face.
With the Vikings.
Yeah, of course.
Staying in the NFC North. What were you thinking, Savannah?
Honestly, this entire week with so many great running backs going off of the market and moving around to different teams, when we had some of these big guys like Aaron Jones become available, and you're sitting there hoping and hoping and hoping, and you're like, okay, I don't know that he could be a great fit here with the Cowboys. Yeah. I was kind of holding my breath. I didn't necessarily think we were going to make any big moves necessarily. And like I said earlier, I think this is a slow game. It's unfortunate in a way that we have not made an effort for the running back position yet. And to be honest, I'm not really sure what direction they're trying to go with it. Aaron Jones would have been a great fit here, but I think, you know, he needed to make a decision for himself, and Vikings obviously was the clear option.
I was honestly shocked, though, that Green Bay was even willing to let him go. I know possibly.
Jacobs.
Can't afford, you get Jacobs, but I mean, I was just kind of shocked. And Micah even tweeted it like, y'all are teams constantly sleep on the type of player that Aaron Jones is. So I mean, I don't know. It would have been kind of cool to get him here, but
well, then when I saw the terms. 1
year,
year, and I
7
believe
million?
reported $7 million.
$7 million.
So that tells you what the Cowboys are thinking at running back. So last year, Tony Pollard played on the franchise tag of 10.1. You would have saved $3 million off of that. But and you look at what the other running backs, this musical chairs of these free agents, and I know Saquon got the biggest
something million.
Yeah, I believe that it was like $25 million guaranteed. That's the main thing, is the guaranteed money. But if they're not $7 million for Aaron Jones, that tells you what the Cowboys are thinking at running back. And maybe Jones didn't give him a chance to match. I don't know, but man, that one kind of that's the one that has me twisted a little bit this week. I'll be honest.
We're gonna talk more in the second segment about the running back position, because I really do want to talk about the possibilities that the Cowboys are looking at, with, of course, AJ Dillon could be a chance. But no, kind of want to go back to Eric Kendricks still. What do you think that room would look like with Demo getting back from his injury? I believe he'll be ready for training camp, and of course, Damone Clark. I mean, I think that would be a pretty cool room.
Yeah, and you're going to add in the draft, and I wouldn't be surprised. I still think that they'll bring in another veteran linebacker doesn't have the name recognition or the skins on the wall of an Eric Kendricks, but they need depth, period. So there'll be some more lower profile linebackers added in the offseason, and it still remains a priority, I believe, in the draft.
Okay, what about you?
I think DMO,
and sorry
with his,
for the people who are listening, DeMarvion Overshown, sorry.
Yes.
Just to make sure
I think based on his injury and then him not obviously playing last season, I think it's going to take a lot of development time for him to fit into the position a little bit more and then come back from this injury. So I think it's great to have Eric Kendricks there as almost a leader for him, as Eric Kendricks is going to come back into Zimmer's defense and try and find his place here. Yeah. And I think, like you said, they'll find another veteran linebacker that is going to add more depth. But I also think there's a possibility that they go into the draft in, day 2 or 3 and draft a guy at the linebacker position there. Add a little bit more depth, get somebody new in here as well. The more depth, the better.
One of the notes that I put on Eric Kendricks, of course, was just like great instincts and like put exclamation marks, like a lot of them. Have you seen a linebacker come in to this Cowboys organization that has had, I guess, would consider him the best instincts, or I guess.
Oh my gosh, that's Sean Lee.
Okay,
Sean Lee. Yes.
Is he the best or the most instinctual? Did I say that right?
Instinctive.
There you go. Linebacker since then.
Oh my God, I've been here since '91, so. We had Ken Norton Jr. and all these great players. Yeah. So gosh, I hate to just pick a few names. Dat Wynn. A lot of study time too. Yeah. I'm biased. Yes, I'm an Aggie, and Dad is a friend of mine. But and guys like that, and it's interesting because, sometimes it's the guys that don't have the prototypical size. It's the Dat Wynns and the Dexter Coakleys of the world. And the other thing is some of the great linebackers that we've had more recently, because the evolution of these guys, and when we switch from 4-3 to 3-4, and it's really more pass rushing off the edge. So DeMarcus Ware, I mean, he was a linebacker for the majority of his career, rushing from an end. I mean, he was a defensive end too, but. I mean, how can you not say DeMarcus Ware? But in terms of coming in and making impact, Sean Lee, he did have injuries early in his career, but in terms of just being instinctive and diagnosing plays and things like that. Yeah. He stands out in my mind.
Stands out in you in your mind. For you, Savannah, what are you most excited about seeing from Eric Kendricks?
I think the leadership side of it. I think you need somebody on the defense other than, when you're looking at all these position groups, other than Micah Parsons or a Trayvon Diggs that are some real big standout guys on the defense. You need to add, possibly Eric Kendricks to that conversation based on if he's going to be a leader in that area. I think you said earlier with Leighton Vander Esch, should he return to playing, he almost seems like that leader to me in a way, but I think Eric Kendricks fits that role a little bit too. Yeah. So I'm excited to see how he leads in that position and how he works with the other guys, especially the younger guys.
Yeah, and you're naturally going to be a resource anyway when you have been in the system. The Zimmer system is going to be new to the guys who are here. So even if Vander Esch were to come back, he hasn't played in the system the way that Kendricks has. So it's by virtue of just the familiarity and being the source that the young guys can go to and ask questions.
I also think it's a little bit of a relief for Damone Clark.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think about how outstanding he did this season playing in that position, and then you're slotting in all these other guys to play next to him, I think having an extra guy that's a vet that has been in the league for so long and played under Zimmer, I think that gives a little bit more relief for Damone Clark. It's not all on his shoulders.
Great point.
Yeah. And also, I know we're waiting to hear the news from Vander Esch. I know that the coaching staff did say that they're allowing him to make that decision. So I know reports say that he might be making that decision in the next coming weeks. So hopefully we get to hear from Leighton not one last time. I don't want to say that for the first time in a long time. But we've got more to talk about. We're going to talk about the running back position, a couple of other positions that are in need for the Dallas Cowboys, other moves that have been made. Not by the Cowboys, but by other teams. We'll be right back. You're watching Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
We know that juicy, cheesy, grilled-to-perfection burger sounds amazing, but it does sound like something is missing. Pepsi, baby! The yin to this burger's yang. Burgers and Pepsi go together like burgers and Pepsi. This perfect blending of flavors makes every bite of lettuce, every sesame seed on the bun, and every sip of that crisp, refreshing, ice-cold cola a journey to Foodtopia. Burgers, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that sixth ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Register now for the 2024 Dallas Cowboys Youth Camps presented by Invisalign. Athletes of all skill levels, ages 6 to 16, are invited to learn from the best this summer at Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. Football camps are led by former NFL players, and dance camps are taught by current Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Register before May 17th to save $25. Visit dallascowboys.com/camps.
Yeah, and you get on it because they're very popular.
Yeah.
Yes.
And 2 slots in the July 8th to 10th are already taken because my nieces are coming down from Ohio. So I'm just telling you, slots are already filling up.
Okay, you have nieces going to participate in the camp?
Absolutely.
That's
And
awesome.
one of them, she's more like her aunt. And so she's actually going to play football because the girls can play football as well.
That's
and
great.
then the younger Brooklyn's going to play football, and Brianna, she's 6 years old, so now she's old enough. The ages are 6 to 16 for these camps, so she's going to dance with the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders.
There you
So
go.
they are very
Awesome.
excited.
And they put on a big showcase at the very end of each camp where they have a big flag football tournament, and then they have the cheerleaders and all the kids do a big performance.
And Rowdy's there.
Yep, it's amazing.
I MC it, and we do a little, make it kind of a fun game day.
Awesome. Moving on to the running back position, y'all. I know.
Do we have
Here we
to?
go.
Woosah. A lot of reports. I know Jane Slater actually put out the report, I believe, saying that the Cowboys are looking at A.J. Dillon. All right, what's y'all's thoughts? Because no more Tony Pollard. He's now with Tennessee, 3-year, $24 million deal, I believe.
Yeah, he's averaging about 8. Mm-hmm.
Man, he's getting paid. Love that for TP.
And he's closer to home.
And
he's from Memphis, so great for him. I'm very happy for him. I think it kind of puts an onus on the Cowboys in terms of second or third round pick, and if you don't get him in second or third round and not having a fourth round unless you make some moves, then that it could be very interesting. If you're targeting some guys for second day of the draft and you're picking so late in each of the rounds that there's slim pickings, and other teams know that that's a need for the Cowboys, unless it's addressed in some, and there'll probably be some signing between now and April 26th or April 25th. But I think that the Cowboys are just trying to be prudent. We talked about not spending, $7 million on Aaron Jones if the Cowboys were even pursuing him. But it kind of shows you what they have budgeted for that position.
And I believe they were pursuing Zach Moss as well, right? Possibly.
I don't. As of right now, I don't believe he's signed. So.
Okay. Well, I know there were reports saying that they may have been conversations or possibly
trying to bring him on board.
But I think he wanted he was just a little bit too expensive. So now it's kind of like you said. It says a lot about what the Cowboys have to work with, especially trying to get that running back position.
Yeah, and until you make some other moves to free up some more money. But Savannah, what were you? I mean,
I wanted to.
Besides just Cowboys, it's been wow, what a market.
Man.
See, and so I pull up A.J. Dillon's stats right now, and I'm looking. He's spent 4 years at Green Bay, and when you think about it, he's been with Aaron Jones a lot of this time, and he is in his career. 60 games played, 597 carries, 2,428 yards, averaging 4.1 yards per carry. So when I'm looking at him, I'm almost comparing it, if you're thinking the Cowboys version, we had Tony Pollard, who put up over 1,000 yards for us this year, and then we had Rico Dowdle, who was kind of, in there when he could be to make some good plays for us, but it's primarily Tony Pollard. A.J. Dillon's reminding me a little bit more of Rico Dowdle.
The complimentary.
He's not that feature back. He hasn't really played that feature back role. And that's what I was going to ask. It kind of concerns me a little bit because if you're looking for that number one running back, I don't think A.J. Dillon's that guy.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. And not only that, I think since we had Zeke many years back, I think he was more of that guy, that go-to for the Cowboys that made those big plays for us. And then when it switched over to Tony Pollard and then Rico Dowdle, I think it kind of took the focus off of, hey, like, who is our number one guy? And they really stuck to Tony Pollard a lot of the time. But I think going forward, now that you don't have Tony Pollard, you need to have one of those big guys that can make big plays at the running back position for us, not having two kind of complementary guys out there rotating.
I think he has. I think one thing that he does have is the physicality, though, that the Cowboys are looking for. They're looking for obviously that angry runner, that physicality, powerful runner, and I think he has that. I just don't believe he's like that every down back that they're also possibly looking for. I don't know. What about you, Kristen?
Yeah, and I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how good he is out of the backfield
that too.
Either. That's the thing is the way that the Cowboys, remember going into the season, they were, going to run the ball and rely on the run, and then things changed after the bye week, and it was more the pass. And so not only catching the ball out of the backfield, but your pass protection as well. And we've talked about that before, how that's, if you're going to be an every down back, or be on the field, the Cowboys were so pass heavy last year that you really need someone that can
be utilized as a receiver too.
Pass receiver and that's not a liability in pass protection.
Right.
But were there some other ones that you're thinking of bringing in, and some reports? Because some of the other, with the musical chairs that was going on, what were you guys thinking with Saquon Barkley leaving the Giants and going to the Eagles?
Oh man, I was like, Jesus Christ. That's literally what I said, because now we got to face them Twice
Yeah.
a year? Okay.
You know,
it's gonna
I
be
gotta
great.
say, some of these other teams right now, I'm looking at the Washington Commanders, and I'm like,
DQ,
whoa,
please.
whoa. But especially with the Saquon going over to the Eagles, sticking in the conference, I think it's, you know, he's what is it, 0-10 against the Cowboys in his career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that might
Yeah.
change.
Yeah,
but,
that's
you know,
definitely
we gotta
gonna
point
change,
it out, everybody.
Yeah, but you mentioned his big payday, you know, and his $25 million guaranteed,
Yeah.
but a little over $12 million a year. What, 3 years, $37 million.
37
So
million.
he's king of the mountain right now in terms of, you know, payment. But the only thing is,
No, go
my
ahead.
only concern with Saquon is for them, the Eagles, to commit that amount of money and a 3-year deal when that's on the high end in the current market for a guy who has had a lot of injury
I was gonna
concerns.
say, there's-
we haven't
there's
seen
total concerns there.
full Saquon in so long, because when he first came in, oh man, so dynamic and so fun to watch. And can he still be that? Yeah, but for how long? So the durability has been an issue there. But Washington with Austin Eckler. So you mentioned Washington, and man, in that Chargers offense.
Yeah.
I know.
Man, the production that he could put up. It's going to be real interesting what he can see, what he can do with the Commanders.
And for going back to Philly and Saquon, it'll just be fun to see, not fun for us, but interesting to see how Kellen Moore utilizes him too.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw what he did with the Chargers. We saw, of course, what he did here in Dallas, but having a kind of a revamped offense over there with a running back like that, I don't know, man. Could be a little dangerous.
Yeah, I think that's part of the frustration with Cowboy fans and watchers too. We admit it. Media workers, everything else is what the Commanders, the Giants, and the Eagles have done in terms of making splashes. Now, I'm not one for spending a lot of money and going for high-profile guys. We've seen the Washington team commit all these resources and flame out before. So just because you make these big commitments the first week of free agency means that they're all going to pay off. But I think that just on paper, and I understand the game's not played on paper, but man, you look at the rosters of those three teams in your division and say, wow,
Exactly.
Look at what they've done so far.
Yeah, and you also have to think about, how did the Cowboys get a better or create or put together a roster that's better than the one they already had with the amount of money that they don't really have to spend or haven't done the necessary things yet to, you know, make those chances.
Yeah, because right now you're not better.
You're not better.
Look at who you've lost on the
Not
defensive
better.
line.
Yeah.
You've lost your depth. You've lost your rotation at defensive end, basically, with Dorrance, Armstrong, and Dante Fowler gone. And then even like Neville Gallimore, who's a backup, but part of the rotation at defensive tackle, signing with the Dolphins. So I don't want to talk about Christian Wilkins leaving the Dolphins to go to the Raiders, because that was the wowza. I knew we
That was
wouldn't be able
like the
to
biggest
afford him.
payday.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Holy smokes. Well, wowza in terms of the terms and the money.
Yeah.
But, oh, my gosh, him and Max Crosby on the same line next to each other. Oh, my gosh.
They're going to be terrifying this year.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So I usually don't get wrapped up in the first week of free agency. But it's the fact that the defensive tackles and running backs, areas that, you know, two of the biggest needs for the Cowboys, along with linebacker. And it's like, oh my gosh, there was so much talent out there, and struck it big on paydays. I understand, I get it, but it's like, golly, it's frustrating.
I know.
Yeah.
It kind of seems like we're getting the short end of the stick in the league a little bit.
So far. But can I just put things into reference for those who are newer Cowboy fans, because everyone's kind of feeling frustrated that they're not jumping in and to the deep end of the pool and committing all these resources and stuff for these free agents and these big names. But the Cowboys used to do that. Jerry used to do that all the time, and he caught holy heck for it when it didn't pay off. So we've been on both.
When was this?
We've been on
Like early,
like 25 years
years ago.
Yeah. For, you know, the first
Long time
25, 20 something years of my 33 years here. So actually, we didn't have free agency until early 90s. So with Reggie White and all that. But anyway, so it's I get it. It's frustrating, but we've seen the other side too. And we've seen even the teams, as I mentioned before, like Washington, all these commitments that the teams have made that haven't paid off. So everyone just kind of needs to take a deep breath. We knew that the Cowboys, or you should have known, that all in by Jerry Jones didn't mean you're throwing money at high-profile, high-money free agents.
And he did say your definition of all in is not the same as mine. So, I mean, I feel like we should have understood that. But no, Christy, have you seen a free agency like this for the Cowboys where it's been like...
Crickets.
Compared to what other one?
Oh my God! Well, actually, the last several.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah, the last several.
I feel
have been
like
this.
I've heard that they have waited and they played this long game. That's just how the Cowboys do it.
Long game is the exact right term. And in Savannah, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but when you said long game the first time you said it, I think that you meant not just this offseason, but long game in terms of we know that Micah and CD have their big paydays coming. So
exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And then this most recent long game, we're talking about this off season and understanding that it's not just the draft. There are a lot of free agents that are gonna the Jordan Lewises of the world, guys like that who. They may not get signed the first week or two, but are key, awesome guys that you definitely want on your team. I definitely want Jordan Lewis back. And guys like that. And just know that the longer the time goes, the more the price tag goes down and the more depth you can assemble. So there is value and prudence to playing the long game.
Yeah.
It's just not as fun, and it's a little frustrating.
And I think even to note further on that topic, when you're really thinking about it, and I think a lot of the Cowboys fans are irritated right now with how the start of free agency has opened up for the team. And like we mentioned, the long game, I think what people need to understand is a team is not built overnight. There's still so much evaluation going on in the building with this coaching staff, with the ownership, and they are going to play this out to the best of their ability and the way that they think it should be played out. And so I know it can be irritating for the fans when we're not making moves or when we have some of these top running backs available and then they get picked up by other teams. But there's going to be a plan, and it takes time.
And we're also not in the front office. Like, we don't know how to run a team or like make the necessary changes to all these things, because Lord knows I couldn't do it. So I mean, I commend them. I know it sucks, but that's just the reality of it. What do y'all think about possibly bringing back Zeke? I don't know. Would y'all like that? No? Yes? What y'all's thoughts? I don't know.
I'm not opposed to it. I'm not opposed to it.
I think that would be something that would be not before the draft. That might be later when you, depending on what happens. I don't see that happening.
Okay.
I would say it's doubtful.
Oh, man.
But I like Zeke, and everybody was great teammate and great in the building, and I think still beloved by a lot of fans, and could still be the guy. He's not going to be your primary back anymore, I don't think. But in terms of the short yardage and things like that, and obvious willingness to pass protect and all that, great teammate, and so he'd be great from that standpoint, and certainly know what to do.
And cheap.
But yeah, he'd be a lot cheaper than, because when he was the $16 million. But the Cowboys, they got bit by that when Zeke jumped the line and basically got the big money contract, and everybody else kind of had to wait. It kind of rejiggered the salary cap and how the Cowboys were doing things, and I think the Cowboys learned a lesson on that. I think is that a nice way to say it?
Yeah. No, 100%. I think so. And, like I said, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I've always liked Zeke's style of running and how he has done for the Cowboys. And he's always been kind of that big powerhouse type of running back, which is the physical aspect that I think the Cowboys could use. I mean, not to mention he has a home here in Dallas. So,
sure.
you know, he does, I think, believe come back here and train in the off season. But, you know, it could be a fit. It might not be a fit. And like you said, the Cowboys might have learned a lesson on that, and they may look another direction.
Yeah. One more thing for running backs, if I may, before we take a break.
Yeah, go for it.
Derrick Henry to Baltimore.
Man. I think everyone's reaction.
Oh my
was
gosh,
the
wait,
same.
we're playing the AFC North.
Yeah.
And they have Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry if he's healthy. And
It's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot to take in.
It's a lot to take in for next
Wow.
season, honestly.
Oh man, I thought, gosh, what a great move by
I know.
Baltimore. Yeah.
Oh, there have just been some great moves by teams. Again, you never know. I mean, sometimes it blows up in your face, but just at first blush, it's like, wow, some teams really improved themselves. And the other thing is great landing spots for the player in terms of not just money.
He
I
has
just
a good
mean,
setup there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah, and that could be a very fearsome run game up there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson and
Wow.
him, Derrick Henry,
It's
crazy.
just like, I wish we had that here. Yeah, I know. All right, well, we've got more to talk about in the next segment. Stick with us. You're watching Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll be right back.
At Jigsaw Dating, we obviously want the Cowboys to bring that 6th ring home. But to be honest, we're more focused on finding the person who will put a ring on your finger. That's why we created a dating app that reveals your face through meaningful conversation, so you can date deeper. Because it's personality that matters the most, not looks. Join Jigsaw Dating today, dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys.
You know that sound anywhere. It's the crisp crunch of that first nacho chip. With its perfect cheese to sour cream ratio sitting atop a layer of delicious beans, it's a sip away from perfection. That's what we're looking for. Add a delicious, refreshing Pepsi and we've achieved absolute nacho nirvana. Because while you can pile those nachos high with every spicy, cheesy, savory topping, there's no topping a cool Pepsi finish. Nachos, better with Pepsi. That's what I like.
Enjoy excellent dining, boutique shopping, and exciting events in the Star District in Frisco, featuring dozens of North Texas' best restaurants and shops, plus a calendar full of family-friendly events. There's always something to do. Shop, dine, and be in the Star District. Visit thestardistrict.com for more info.
Now, and just in the few minutes of the break, and certainly since the top of the show, Detroit Lions are announcing that Dan Campbell, their head coach, the former Dallas Cowboy, has received a contract extension.
Wow.
So terms not released, but Dan Campbell and GM Brad Holmes getting extensions and a reward for their success and the way that they've changed that franchise and that culture with the Lions. So congratulations to Dan. He's a great guy and local North Texas guy, and wish him continued success.
Congrats
I think
to Dan
it's
Campbell.
well deserved.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well
Absolutely.
deserved.
Yeah.
Speaking of guys with Cowboys ties, DQ has picked off
Oh,
so many guys. Let's go ahead and run through that list.
Man.
Dorrance Armstrong, Tyler Biotish, the center, Dante Fowler to Washington, and there were rumors that Jordan Lewis.
See,
But I don't know if
I
that's,
did
I don't know how
see
true
those
that is.
rumors,
I
yeah.
did see rumors about Jordan Lewis possibly, DQ trying to get J. Lou over there. I don't know how true that is. Let's hope not, because this, like you said, this is a guy that we certainly need on this team, and I'm sure everyone could want on their team. Who do you think is the biggest loss? Real quick.
To me, it's our center.
Yes.
Tyler Biotish.
Yes. So far, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so
for
far.
sure.
And when you really think about that, obviously Tyrone Smith is a topic of conversation as far as the Dallas Cowboys offensive line goes. But when you take out your center, who had so many starts for the Cowboys, who has helped hold that line together over the past few seasons, I think he's the biggest loss, because now you're looking at the restructure of that line and what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of conversation on Tyler Smith, and do we move him over to the left side? Should we not have Tyrone Smith? But I think there's a position there, and hopefully, I know there's been a couple conversations about Brock Hoffman stepping up into those shoes. And I don't necessarily know if the Cowboys are going to look into another veteran center coming in here, or if they have that hope that Brock Hoffman is going to fill those shoes there. But Tyler Biadasz is so far the biggest loss to me.
Yeah, and the other thing is, if Tyron leaves and you move Tyler Smith over, then you need depth at guard, and Hoffman is your backup center and guard. And so there, it's not just it's one domino that starts all of them in the line, and then it starts that crazy circle and all that kind of. But yeah, the other thing is, what a great guy Tyler is. So happy for him. I mean, great for him.
Too.
Well deserved, but yeah, it definitely has to be addressed. I mean, I'm sure that they'll bring in, a veteran center,
right?
Because you're not sure. It may not a high profile guy necessarily, but. With the other needs in the draft, and if you need swing tackle and again guard, if you move Tyler Smith, if you lose Tyron, so yeah, that's tough. But I agree, and that's the thing. As soon as Dan Quinn left, it was like you could pretty much go down the line and say he's going to go for him, he's going to go for him, he's going to go for him, he's going to go for him.
Yeah,
and he does. Yeah.
Yep. Thanks, DQ. We appreciate it. We love it.
We still love you. We still love you.
Yes.
But stop.
Please stop taking our guys.
If you're listening, please stop. But no, Christy made a good point this morning or yesterday, reaching out and just talking about the different proposals and rules changes that, of course, teams have reached out. I know there's a coaches meeting or owners meeting in a couple of weeks in Orlando, Florida. So they'll be addressing new rule changes for the 2024 season. A couple of those, Christy, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think the ones that have received a lot of attention because with the competition committee, and we get that covered a lot in the local media because Stephen Jones is a longtime member of the competition committee, but the changes to kickoffs, and we've referred to that briefly before about how they may go to what we saw in the XFL, and John Fossil, our special teams coordinator, is part of that. But that's kind of the one that's received a lot of publicity. Yeah. Also, possible changes to try and eliminate the hip drop tackle, which would help improve the safety of the game, a lot of people feel. But there are other proposals, and so teams make proposals every year. And some of them have been really interesting, and some of these have been submitted before, but I think they're worth noting again. So I want to pose it to everyone, but get y'all's reaction on this. One of them is from the Philadelphia Eagles, and this would be the alternative to an onside kick. And let me just say that there were 41 onside kick attempts last year. Yeah. Without cheating, two out of 41. So it's not real. The kicking team recovered only 2 of 41 onside kick attempts.
I read it this morning. That's why.
We knew it was low, but that's like really low. So the proposal from the Eagles is that after a team scores a touchdown, they would maintain possession after that touchdown by taking the ball. They get the ball at their own 20. Their offense comes out. It's 4th and 20. And if you convert on 4th and 20, you get to keep the ball and sustain the drive. And if it's not good, you incomplete or you run for 18 yards, whatever, the play ends. And if you don't successfully convert 4th and 20, then the other team takes over.
Interesting.
What do you think about that? Would that add some sauce to the end of a game or end of a half, or certainly end of a game? You need
certainly a momentum changer for sure.
I think that the onside kick is more challenging, and that's why, should this proposal happen, I think it gives teams, even though it's your 4th and 20, right, at your own 20-yard line, I think depending on who the teams are, I mean, you get that one shot to try and get a first down. I think that there's a better chance and a higher chance that teams will get that.
So most teams would try for that, would prefer to do that than an onside kick.
I think so.
I agree.
They'd have a higher chance at still being able to maintain the ball. I think with an onside kick, it's a little bit more challenging, and you have to actually not necessarily plan for it because you don't know which way it's going to go, but it's more challenging in a way.
Yeah, it's also safer Because
Yeah.
the onside kick, that is not a safe play, especially if you're the one that's trying, the ball's coming to
Trying to
you, you
recover,
get it, and
yeah.
everyone's just trying to knock your block off. And not even the guys that the ball's coming to, but when you're the kicking team and you know you're going to go this direction, you have guys that are taking out nearby guys.
Yeah.
To get if the owners and if the league is making decisions based on safety,
Yeah.
which they say they do, but I think that they may have to lean towards this proposal of 4th and 20.
And there were other. These were the only 4 teams that entered. I guess sent in proposals: Lions, Bills, Steelers, Jaguars.
Well, the Colts,
Okay.
yeah. So another one, just for an example, we know that when coaches challenge a call or challenge a play, there are certain things that they can and cannot challenge. So, for example, you can't challenge a pass interference call. You can't challenge a holding call, for example. Well, those are game-changing, oftentimes
Yes.
game-changing
Hello.
plays.
Yes.
Dallas Cowboys.
So the Colts have proposed allowing coaches to challenge any penalty that has been called on the field.
I like that.
Any penalty, not just the ones that you can change, but anything. So, and the league actually experimented with this back in 2019. I remember this, that pass interference was added as something that could be challenged.
Okay.
When these rule changes, if something's adopted, it's usually like a 1-year experiment.
Yeah.
That was the case with this. It was a one and done.
Yeah.
In that particular thing with pass interference.
I think with that though, it kind of like every team would be challenging every single.
Well,
call,
you would
and
you
then
would still
get-
you would still have only a couple of challenges a game.
Okay.
So are
okay.
you going to burn?
Yeah.
Are you going to burn your
Okay.
challenge on was that pass interference?
Okay.
Right.
Or
Okay.
no, that wasn't holding.
So in 2019, when they experimented with that, do you know what the findings were? How
I don't have the stats on
Okay,
that.
I'll have
but,
to
but you know,
find that out.
I'm
'cause-
thinking of this one play. Remember when Peyton Hendershot got called for tripping,
yes,
and he obviously was not the one that was tripping.
Yes.
And so that would be an example.
Okay.
Of something that in the most recent Cowboys, from December or January. Anyway, that would be December. Anyway, that would be an example of a play
that they could challenge.
that you could challenge.
and even my brain goes to some of the holding calls with
Some.
Micah
Some.
Parsons.
Yes,
Some.
absolutely.
Like
Well, see, that's
I don't know.
but see, the thing about Micah is Cowboys fans and Micah and everybody, Cowboy perspective. The problem is that holding is not called on Micah, that he gets held on the time. This would not apply to that because you can only
Interesting.
challenge penalties that are called.
got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Challenge any foul that has been called on the field. If
Okay.
it's not called, you can't say, "Oh, they scored a touchdown, but Michael was held."
Yeah.
It's not like that. So let me give an example of another one real quickly. Let's see. The Detroit Lions submitted a rule change. It would allow coaches to get a third challenge if either of their first two is successful. Because right now,
Yeah.
you can challenge twice, and if the first two are you win the challenge, then you get a third. And oh wow, big tour! Wow, that's a big group. Hey guys, awesome! Thank you for coming. Anyway, this one would whether you were successful on both, you would still have a third. So thoughts.
They do that
Yes.
in tennis. If you win the point. Or
Nicole played in college,
I played
by
in
the way.
college,
So.
yeah, they do that in tennis. So if you win the challenge, you get to keep that challenge. So it's like, I'm taking that one all day.
I think you might as well implement it.
Yeah.
Why not? I don't see any bad thing that comes out of that necessarily.
Well, the reason why you say, oh, you need to limit challenges and things like that is, and honestly, a lot of the way things are run in the NFL is you're trying to keep the game to under 3 hours so
Yeah.
it can fit in the broadcasting window. So if you have a couple more stops, if
Longer
one,
games.
each team has 3 instead of 2, or, sometimes you don't even have a challenge in a game, but in terms of expediency,
Gotcha.
trying to. But anyway, so again, these aren't as high a profile as changing the kickoffs or even these hip drop tackles. But every year, teams make these suggestions, and I thought a couple of these were particularly noteworthy.
All right. Well, that's unfortunately the wrap for our show. Now they have the draft show coming up in the next 10 minutes. So, no, we have to hop off. So, hopefully, we've got some more news coming up.
Yeah,
next
thank
week.
you,
Yeah,
Savannah.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Thanks,
having
Savvy
me.
Sav.
Happy to join anytime.
Yes. All right. Well, that'll do it for Girls Talk, Boys Talk, presented by Jigsaw, the preferred dating partner of the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see y'all next week.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!